Good morning and welcome to Small Business Power. This is the show that's all about helping you to understand how small businesses have the power to be the change that we're looking for in the world. I am Cheyenne Kramer, and this is my better half.
Don Kramer. Hello, everyone. We've got a big treat for you today. Special guests.
Absolutely.
Stick around.
For sure. We're doing more interviewing again. For a long time, we were just kind of giving you guys the big picture on things. But we have just run across some of the most amazing people recently, and we just feel compelled to share their stories with you because we want you to understand now is the time. We need more people getting off the bleachers and onto the playing field of making a difference, because there are so many challenges going on in our world. And as we like to remind people, you are the miracle that we are waiting for.
You are the miracle.
So hopefully Miss Allysia Richardson will be able to inspire you to get up and figure out what you can do differently. One of the things that a lot of people are not aware of is that back in 2016, the We Care Partnerships Network actually created a very specialized group called Women Leading from the Heart. And I'm going to tell you, if I knew Allysia then, she would have been invited to be involved in this group. Because the fact of the matter is that when we went to DC with this group of women, it was all about women who were they were listening to, they were asking for guidance from their creator. They were listening to the responses that they got, and they were going into their community and making change happen. And I think that is a great way to introduce Miss Allysia and what she's got going on in the world. So thank you so much for being with us today.
Absolutely. And thank you for having me. So, as you have already said, so my name is Allysia Richardson, and I am the academic interception coach. And I'll kind of go into like what all of that means. And so just like a brief introduction about myself is, so I have two boys, one which is diagnosed with multiple disabilities, which kind of, leads me into what I do now. And so I am in a sense like, so how do I even explain this? So I'm not a teacher, I'm not a therapist, I'm not like any of those like official titles. All I am, or not all I sorry, go ahead.
I can describe you're a great mom.
Thank you.
There you go.
That's exactly where I was headed. I am a great mom. I am just a parent who decided to step up and just make a change for my son. Yes.
Well, and what was that title that you gave yourself again? It sounds like you invented that title, and I said, yes.
Yes, I did. I am the academic interception coach. And so what that is just, well, I'll go into it more, but I'm literally like intervening in a time where a lot of people say like COVID is affecting children's education and or learning disabilities affect children's education, but in actuality, the numbers of children who have been struggling with education has been it's literally getting to a point where it's literally at pandemic numbers now. So it's been going on for a while, and so that's why I was like, okay, I need a name or a title that is going to describe literally what I do, and so that's it. That's what I came up with.
I love it. Well, and if I remember correctly, you also were told things about your child with disabilities that perhaps you've proven otherwise.
Yes. Yes, I have. So to kind of give a little background, so my son, he was born before actually he was born, they said that he would only have a 1% chance at life. And that I just to like literally in that moment make a decision. Me and my husband had to literally make a decision that day whether we were going to continue with the pregnancy or not. And so because we decided that we were going to go with the pregnancy, of course, they wrote like this whole list of risk that the doctor lays out. And so even after he was born weighing under a pound. And so even then, it was just like, he's going to be very delayed. He's going to always be behind. He's probably not going to do, walk. He's probably not going to talk and all of these things. And so his life literally started out with all of the things that he would not be able to do or might not be able to do. Absolutely.
And yet you found this desire, this passion, this motivation from within to say, I'm going to prove you wrong. Where did that come from?
Yeah, well, it didn't start that way. And that came from a very selfish moment in my life, right? So obviously, well, no, I shouldn't say obviously, but a lot of things that were happening. So because we had a lot of hospital visits, because we took on, like my husband and I, we said yes, like of course we're gonna have our baby, but we didn't realize all the things that we were saying yes to. And so we were so unprepared in what we were getting into. So without having the proper education, the proper support to actually help a child who with the situation we've never had before, like I went into like this deep depression and my husband went into denial. And so we were literally like in this place of like this dark hole. And so one day I just decided, it had really nothing to do with my son. One day I decided, I was like, I don't want to live like this anymore. I want my life back. How do I get that back? How do I make this make sense? Because I also had an older son who's 12, and then the son that I'm speaking of now, he's now 9. So how do I get my life back, even with having children, having a family, having a husband? How do I do that? And so in order to help him, I had to actually help myself first. I had to really get back to who Allysia was. Where did Allysia's smile go? Where did Allysia's happiness and joy go? And so that's actually how I started helping my son, by figuring out what I wanted first.
Smart lady. Yes. We have to be the change in order to do the change.
Yeah.
That's true.
Exactly.
Wow. So tell us about, how did this, after you kind of started to work on yourself, where did that first idea come from? How did that first idea come to you on how you could start to help your son in a way that most people wouldn't necessarily have thought of?
So so a part of my story that a lot of people probably won't admit, but when I was like in that dark place, I actually it was like one day we're all sitting on a couch, family time, and I literally started having like this very anxious feeling of, I don't know, I just like I wanted to hurt my family, like physically hurt my family. And so I locked myself in my bedroom and I was like, this is so unnormal. This is so not okay. And so like I waited to like calm down, and I don't know what it was. Like I'm like, God, I don't know what this is. So I said, maybe I really need to go see a therapist. And so I went to go see a therapist, and she asked me a question. She said, when was the last time you were truly happy? And so I broke down crying. And because I couldn't think of the last time that I was really happy, I could think about happy moments, but I could not really think about the time of when Allysia was truly, truly happy. So that was the really that push to really say, I really need to work on me in order to change everything else around me.
Wow. That's powerful. And I'm glad you had a therapist who helped you to come to that realization. They're not all that good. So obviously there was somebody watching over you right from the beginning.
Yes.
and oh my God, that had to have been the scariest feeling, to have that feeling of, oh my God, I want to hurt my family. This is where I keep trying to tell people, there is a lot of darkness around us right now. And right now is when we really need to be seeking our higher power, seeking our, whatever your understanding of God is. So tell us a little more. How did you get into that space?
Well, I've always been like a person of faith. Like I've always believed in God. My parents are pastors. Um, you know, I've literally always like been in that space. But I would say that I was kind of separated because I remember from like just being a little girl, like I remember probably around 5 years old, I remember God talking to me like at 5. And so
Okay.
I tell this to my mom. My mom was like, wow, like I never knew this. But I don't know, I've just always had this I've just always just had this relationship with God, outside of like outside of everybody else, because I was a person that enjoyed my alone time. And so that was a time for me to get connected with God. And I've been doing that since again 5. Like I've just, that's just me. And so, but by the time that I got to that moment, I had joined the military. I was trying to run away from home. Like I was just trying to escape. And so I was trying to, because my life was so, it was like I really feel like God orchestrated my life in such a way that he's truly separated me to stand out, because I guess because of my story, um I was actually trying to go against the will of God. Like I was trying to go against like everything that he had set up for me, because I'm like, God, I just want to get in trouble. I just want to like I don't know, I just want to know what this feels like. I want to know this. And so I tried to run, but I've always just had a relationship with God. So to get to that point, um it was, for me, it was like, okay, God, I'm ready. I'm gonna be in alignment. I'm gonna do what you tell me to do, because this doesn't feel fun.
Ooh, this sounds like the old saying that you like so much. How do you make God laugh?
Yeah.
Yes. That's another thing I've noticed. You had a relationship with God, but it wasn't the relationship God wanted yet.
Yes.
Now I think you have the relationship God wants you to have with Him.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yes. Yes. Oh my goodness.
Fantastic.
Woo! So tell us about that first time that you started to really feel that connection, and how it could help you to help your son with all of these challenges.
hmm So one of the things, like, I feel like we all have to realize is that God is always talking to us. God is always trying to get he's our life. Before we were born, our life had already been created. Our finish line is already there. We just have to walk the steps out. And God is always telling us, okay, left foot, right foot, turn left, turn right. Like he already has it worked out, right? So to where I am now, it's pretty much like okay, so let's just start here. Okay, so like I said, I've never dealt with anything like my child. Like I've never ever dealt with it. And in fact, when they gave me his diagnosis of autism, I had a friend who had a child with autism. And when they told me my son had autism, I was like, no, he doesn't. That's not, I know what autism looks like. That's not what autism looks like. Like, no. But when everything like all came, because he was diagnosed at 3, so we're like, even up until 3, we kind of, I don't know, we were just trying to figure stuff out. But here's the thing, um I would do things that were not what the doctors wanted me to do. So he didn't like eating off of a spoon, because by this time, he needs to eat off of a spoon, but he didn't want to, so he wasn't eating. So what I did was I took a bottle and I cut a hole in the nipple, and I just put his food inside of the bottle, and I just had him like drink from or eat from the bottle per se. And so the doctor, she takes it away from me. She says, no, don't do this. This is going to set him back all the way back. And so, I'm like, okay, no. And that scared me, because she did it so aggressively. And I was like, oh no. Okay. So, but then the next month I walk into Walmart and there's a shelf full of food inside of pouches that kids can suck their food out of. So God had already given me this idea of how to help my child, but now somebody else is doing it and now it's okay.
Yep.
So there were so many things, ideas that God gave me to help him, that were unorthodox or that people had not thought about yet. Because in this realm of children with disability or children who have been diagnosed with anything, that they are disabled or are not able to do things. But in actuality, um, they can. And so God will, according to your child, God gives you the plan of how to work your child and how they are supposed to move through life. How are they supposed to learn to talk? How are they supposed to learn to walk? Because everything that I did, I can tell you, the school did not think about it. His therapist, like the school wanted to hire me, the therapist wanted to hire me. Like they were, I don't know, it was just a lot of things that they did not do that I was doing, that was different from protocol that they had to follow.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So in your case, it was probably a really, really good thing that you had not had all kinds of formal training
Yes, exactly.
because you didn't have to unlearn anything to be able to try some new things. And as they were coming to you, they just you said, "Okay, God, I'm done fighting. I'm just going to do it."
That's
Yes.
it.
And if I remember correctly, at one point in time, weren't you told things like this? Your child would never, be able to read and write, and
Yes.
what's happened with that?
Yes. So I mean, throughout his life, he was like, okay, he's going to be delayed. There were schools that were afraid to even bring him in, like, no, because we wanted to put him in a private school because of the setting would be smaller and it just would make sense. They didn't want anything to do with him. The public schools, all they wanted to do was actually just put him in a special needs classroom. And they say they word it in such a way, well, if he's here, then he can get the attention that he needs because it's not a no. Or that means they're just gonna put him in a room where people babysit him and make sure he doesn't hurt anybody or anything like that.
Right.
But ultimately, yes, so they've pretty much given up on him because of the label. They didn't get to know him. They didn't do anything. And actually, there was a teacher that said to me, they feel like children with special needs actually should not be in school. A physical teacher said that to me. Yeah.
Wow.
And this was actually in a special needs school, by the way.
Oh my
Yeah.
word.
So here the thing about it is, the people that, like, so when these types of children are born, and I call these are brilliant minded children, if you think about it, like these children, because they think so differently, they build differently, and so they're so brilliant. But the thing about it is, because of the label and how it's been viewed or portrayed, um they're kind of stuck in this category of, like I said, like, of inability. And so the limiting belief of the doctors, therapists, teachers, and anyone else in that type of profession, that's what is perceived as best practices. And so that's why God has to be the person to tell you what to do with your child. Even the studies that have been done, like, because I did so we had to move to North Carolina for a bit, to Jacksonville, North Carolina, and they were not quite ready for children of my child child of my magnitude yet. And so I was like, okay, well, maybe I should, like, go to go to college so I can help him, because they don't have anything here. When I went, I was already doing all of the things that they're teaching them and that was in the bachelor's program of the things that they were teaching them. And so I was like, I'm not spending money on this. I'm gone, because I had already passed this. I was already past this. So with them saying that he's not going to be able to read, he's not going to be able to do math, to write, of course that was like a yeah right, like, yeah right, you guys don't know this kid. So what I did was, at first he also wasn't speaking, so what I did was I prioritized what I wanted to help him with. And I think a lot of parents, when they're in things like this, they take on a lot, and so they feel like they have to accomplish everything at one time. But I said, I'm not going to do it. So I focused on one thing. So I know I needed to get him to walk. I know I needed to get him to feed himself. I know, like, in order for him to take care of, because he was also on a liquid diet for the first 5 years of his life.
Wow.
He was on a liquid diet. So one day I said, I want to see if nature kicks in. And a lot of people probably give me flack for saying this. So I took his liquid diet away. I put a sandwich on the table and I walked away. He cried. He screamed. It was about an hour of him screaming and crying. All of a sudden it stopped. I go in the kitchen. He's no longer in there. So I'm looking under the table. There's nothing on the table, nothing under the table, nothing in the trash can. He ate the food. Like he ate. I'm sorry, that was loud. He ate it.
Okay.
So it was like, I pushed him past the tears and I pushed myself, because of course it's uncomfortable to hear your own child cry and oh my God, well, what if he's dying right now? What if he's not dying. So I pushed past, and it's the same thing with reading. Our children do not want people. It's not even our children. People do want to live the path of least resistance. And so it's the same thing with our children. We as parents have to get over the guilt. We have to get over feeling bad because we don't want them to feel bad. And when we can push past that, we can actually get our children to do what they need to do. So that's why he's reading. That's why he's walking. That's why he's eating and off of a food diet or a liquid diet. This is why he's literally thriving in the life, making friends, because he wouldn't play with people. He walks up to people now. Hey, what's your name? Because I pushed him past his path of least resistance. So now he has a new path of least resistance, right? We have to create those different paths. So,
yes, absolutely. And that reminds me of a conversation I was in with somebody just yesterday, possibly on LinkedIn, or no, it was somebody doing a Facebook Live. And that's what I was saying is, thank God that we can create new neural pathways in the brain that creates a new belief system, a new mindset about what is possible. And oh my God, Allysia, you have become an architect of the brain. There's a new title for you.
So, and I like that you said that, because I remember, like, I'm not like, I love science and I love psychology and all that behind it, but one word that really stuck with me through his journey is neuroplasticity, and the fact that with God everything is possible. So when you bring all of those together and we understand that everything starts here, our behaviors, our life, it starts with our thoughts. And so if, number one, as an adult or as the parent, if I believe that he could actually change and shift the neurons and things inside of his brain physically, then we can make this all happen. Like, God, you're giving, if you can think it, God can go above and beyond the things that you're thinking. So if God, if I'm thinking that I can get him to talk, then God, you're going to make it happen, and you're going to go above and beyond all the things that I could even ask or think.
Woo. Wow. Powerful story, girl. I mean, you definitely, you should be getting awards of some sort. Because that is just so amazing, and it's so much truth. You know, we as human beings, we have lost sight of the abilities that we've been given. You know, Jesus even said, you can do all things I can do and more. And yet, how many of us believe that? How many of us put that into action? And yet you came through the dark night of the soul very definitely, but came out the other side understanding that you had the ability to connect with the Creator, get the guidance you need, and be able to make such a difference in your child's life. I mean, I get goosebumps when I hear you say some of these stories. It's amazing. Good stuff. So I know you've got something going on, because this now has become your passion, and perhaps, I'm not even sure if you call it a business. It's definitely a love offering. But you know, how are you reaching out to help other parents right now?
So we were in for a very long time, not a long time, like for about a year, we were in a support group. And in the support group, I kind of saw the difference of types of parents. I saw the type of parent that wanted to be victim. And I know that is a hard word for some people to open and receive. But
Mhm.
some people actually enjoy being a victim of their circumstances. Then I saw there were some parents who were really in the support group to find the type of support in order to get the growth that they really wanted.
Mhm.
And so what started happening was God started down like, okay, you can actually help this kid do da 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 da. You can help this kid do this, and it just started like God just started like showing me different families and different things like that. Um, but even while in that, I had a friend who I we didn't think that her child had any type of learning, that he wasn't labeled or anything. So I said, hey, just bring him to me. And because he was in first grade, and they were just putting him to the side. He was having all kinds of behavior issues, and they were wanting to hold this little baby back in first grade. They wanted to hold like this baby, I'm like, wow. So or was it second? No, maybe it was second grade, and they were going to hold him back. And I'm like, third grade is a very huge state. They cannot really hold him back. And so bring him to me. So I started working with him, and in no time, the behavior stopped because I realized what the problem was. And I'm going to share what the problem is, because more than likely, this is the problem for a lot of parents whose children are actually struggling to learn. So the problem wasn't that he couldn't learn. The problem wasn't that he wasn't willing to learn, because a lot of parents feel my child just hates it. My child just doesn't want to do it or whatever. It wasn't any of those. It wasn't behavior. It was none of those things. These are all symptoms of one thing. And it was the child's brain being shut down because
Mhm.
of whatever a circumstance was in their life. And it could be anything, because for a child, even the smallest thing can actually cause a traumatic response. And
Mhm.
so for him, I knew the family, so I knew what the traumatic response was. But even then, I still don't have to know what the traumatic response is. So for
Mhm.
my son, the traumatic response was in and out of the hospital, because of course he's very loved at home, very, all those things. So his response was whatever, all the medical things he was going through the hospital. So for another child, right, brain is still shut down, but it could be because they started school too early. I believe that some children should not start school until they are ready, whether that's in middle school, high school, whatever that is. If they need to stay home until third grade, some children just do not need to start school until they are mature to handle being outside of the home. That's another traumatic experience. But for the most part, what's happening is the children's brains are shut down. And so again, the path of least resistance becomes even stronger, because now their brain is now only receiving, is only taking in what's needed. I'm hungry, I want to play game, and I want love from my parents, right?
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
they don't
Mhm.
want to learn ABCs 1, 2, 3s if they're in that state of mind. And it's not that they don't even know it, because they're actually receiving it. So whenever I work with the child and I open up their mind, you'll start seeing all the things that you've been trying to teach them actually flow out. It wasn't that they weren't learning it. It was just their brain didn't know how to form it in such a way for it to become an external value to them. So I hope that makes, hope that makes sense.
Wow. You might have to write your own PhD program somewhere along the line.
Yes.
See? So, but this is what God is downloading into me. So it wasn't like I said, I when I went when I went to college, it was like I'm already past this. God had already given me exactly what was happening in the minds of the children. And
Mhm.
for its majority of the children. So when I work with them I work with them to actually open up their mind, to get them out of survival mode, to get them out of whatever that response is. And it happens just like that. So I have an event coming up that
Tell us, tell us.
Please.
so it's I'm calling it the 100 learning impaired children reading in less than 12 months mission, because I want so the mission is getting the children to read, but my ultimate goal is actually to empower parents, because in this group or circle that I'm in, a lot of parents feel that because they're not teachers, because they don't have formal education, because maybe they have a learning disability themselves. I have a learning disability, by the way. I have been diagnosed, and I was diagnosed as an adult. I struggled in school. I made poor grades in school. Okay. So my goal with this mission is, yes, to help the children read, but to empower parents that they have full control, or not full control, but they can take full control of their circumstances. And that because of the way school is set up, it's set up in such a way to believe that the school has more power than the parent does. So I was even just thinking, so my oldest son goes to school, he's in public school. And so I just kind of sent them a note. He won't be in school because dad is, X, Y, and Z. And so they sent me a letter back saying that I need to redo this, send it through the proper channel so that we can tell you if this is an appropriate absence or not. Okay, so another parent would have been like, oh no, let me do this right away. Me, I'm like, how are you going to tell me what is appropriate for my child to miss school on? And so that's the attitude that I have, and what was built after working with my son, because it's like, you don't tell me what's an appropriate or appropriate absence. So it's little things like that. And that's just a small thing, because children who have learning disabilities, they go through these IEP meetings and the teachers tell them what they're going to do with their children and what's going to work for their children. And that's like, it's not the case at all. You tell the school, because the school is a tool. The school is not a it's not a have to. You don't have to send your child to school. It is a tool. And only if your child is going to respond to that tool. And so what I want to do is help parents understand that they have more control than they think they do, or power. They have more power than they think they do. And so it's a 3-day free training on one. I'm breaking this down, but also that's my main goal, is helping parents to really understand like how to really step in and help their children, because it's literally what I had to do with not having formal education, being just a parent. Like, I know I'm not just a parent, but other people feel that way, just a parent, and all of these things that could be the problem. Having a learning disability myself, learning disabilities, they don't go away, but we learn to use them. Like I literally use them. My thing is ADHD, and I am hyper sometimes, and I can go low sometimes, but the best part about it is I know how to really focus, and so a lot of times, that could be like the bigger issue. But anyway, I've already learned to manage. I manage it very well. It doesn't go away. It's just we have to figure out, how do we manage it? What is this? God gave it to me. So the way people make it seem like it's like, this is no, God gave me this. This is a gift. So how now do I use this in order to push my life forward? And so that's what I actually teach the children. You think different. So let's use that. That's valuable. Let's use that. And so now let's show our parents and rework our thought process with the parents on, how do you look at your child's disability, whether it's autism, whether it's the fact that they were born without a limb, or maybe they were born with an extra limb. How do we use that? You know what I mean? So that's it.
Whew. Holy cow. You are just a powerhouse. You are a parent coach, a parent empowerment coach.
Yeah.
You can come up with all kinds of titles for you, honey.
That's right. Pretty good.
I love it. I love it. I told you she was fun.
Well, you got to tell everybody how they can get in touch with you. I'm sure there's got to be people who need you.
Oh yeah. Okay. So to actually access, and actually I see you put it in the chat there. So in order to access the free 3-day training, it's www.wakeupyourchildsbrain.com. Is it / the slash goes this way / reading mission. This is Caden. I already knew he was going to come in one of these days. Say hello and then walk away. Okay, now walk away. Hello. And then to not access me on Facebook, but to connect with me on Facebook, it is Destined Leaders Prep Academy. So I don't know. Hold on, I don't know if I can put that.
Nice.
Yes.
Destined leaders.
That's the big thing, because I want my children to be leaders. All the children are leaders. They and so it's like teaching them their identity, teaching them their individualisticness. Yes. Teaching them just I don't know, just teaching them to be leaders in the world, because the way the world looks at them now is like they're not going to be anything. And that part sucks. And
It
so
does.
like
It does. Absolutely. 100% agree.
I believe the people who put these labels on these kids are afraid of their bigger geniuses than they are.
yeah.
True.
That's absolutely true.
True.
We got to hold those geniuses down before they take over and put us straight.
It's funny that you said it, because I was just speaking with my son's therapist today, and I said it's so funny because the children that they're actually putting in the special needs classroom and doing nothing with are actually the brilliant minds, and the children who are in that they're actually catering to are children just who knows how to mimic and memorize what the teacher is saying. And so if we just go back in history of all of the great things that were created, these are people who actually dropped out of school. These are people who are actually labeled in, just they just figured out how to make their own path. So yeah.
Well, it's true. And in fact, if they say that if Einstein was alive today, Edison was alive today, Henry Ford was alive today, they'd be put on Ritalin because they all were ADD.
Yes.
So, and I know you've met my friend Dory Staley, and basically she says that, to her, that whole thing called ADD or ADHD actually allows you to become hyper focused on your passion. And that's what you have done.
Yep. So just getting people to understand that and reframing the way we actually view it. Because like I said, in today's culture and in society, these things are actually looked at as handicaps, as if they are unable to do something, all because it's just different from all because this brain does not work well in a factory of someone trying to control an individual to make money for them.
That's it. You got it. That is exactly it. Holy cow. Well, again, your website is wakeupyourchildsbrain.com. And if you put a / after that with reading mission, you can get access to 3 days of free training by this amazing empowered parent who can empower you as a parent too. So Allysia, thank you so much for being with us today. We've just had a ball having you here.
Thank you for having me. This was fun. So we should definitely do this again, like always.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you. And to all of our viewers, we thank you for checking in with Small Business Power. We will see you again next week. Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.